Okay, so great. My dear student, I welcome you once again to the concept of linear functions. In this concept, we are going to look at how we can graph a linear function. So before that, when we say linear function, we know that a linear function, we are talking about a straight line. So most of the time, when we draw a graph of a straight line, we can use that to represent what a linear function. Okay, so before we look at the question, let's write the linear equation in this form. So for linear equation, we have as of the form y is equal to mx plus c. Good. So this is a linear equation. So whenever we graph this is what a graphical representation of what a linear function. All right. So this represents a linear function. And what does this m stand for? So the m is what? The gradient. The gradient of the line, or the slope. We can also term it as what? The slope of the gradient. And when we talk of the gradient, we are talking about the steepness of the graph. I mean the rise or the fall of the graph, whether the graph rises or falls. So we are talking about how the steepness of what? The graph, that is the gradient. And the c is what? Is the y-intercept. Yes, so as for the x and y, we know that they represent what? The domain of the y and the x-axis. Okay, so this is what? A straight line. So we are going to look at how we can plot a linear function or a linear equation of this form. All right, so then let's come back to the actual question. So this question, we are to draw the graph of the equation 2x plus 3y is equal to -6. Now, whenever you are asked to draw the graph of this equation, first of all, you can even test to see whether it is a linear graph. And as I said, a linear graph is of this form, so you can even make y the subject and test it and see whether it is. Once you get it in this form, then it is what? A linear graph. And looking at this example, you realize that if we are to make y the subject, it will be in this form. Okay, good. So when you are asked to draw such equation, the graph of equation, what you can do is that you can use the both the x and the y intercept to draw this graph. You can also use the gradient and the y intercept to draw. So this one, we are going to use both the x and the y intercept. Okay, good. So before you can draw this graph, you need to get some points if you are using the x and y intercept. So I need to get my x intercept. To find x intercept, then y must be what? Equal to 0. Okay, meaning that you put 0 into the equation for y. Okay, whatever you see y, you put 0 there, then you get x intercept. So if I'm going to substitute 0 for y, then I'll write 2x plus 3 multiplying 0, which is equal to -6. All right, great. Then I'm going to have 2x is equal to -6. And if I divide both sides by 2, then I'm going to get x is equal to what? -3. So for my x intercept, I'm going to get this point or this coordinate. X is -3, and then y is what? 0. So I have one coordinate or points that I can use, and that is for the x-intercept. And to find y-intercept, then x should also be 0. Yes, so it means that I will also substitute 0 for x in the equation. Then I'm going to have 2 plus 3y is equal to negative 6, where I have 3y is equal to negative 6. So here too, if I'm to divide both sides, then I'm going to get y is equal to negative 2. So for the point or coordinate for y-intercept, then I also have, because we are saying x is 0 and y is what? Negative 2. So these are the intercepts for both x and y. Then we can use it to draw the graph of such equation. Okay, so here let's go to our graph. So before we draw this graph, let's draw the x and the y axis. Yes, because we need x and y axis before we can plot this. So always we try to use what? Our straight edge. Okay, so I have my ruler here. I'm going to draw the vertical axis or the vertical line. That is what? My y axis. Okay, so put it there. Okay, that's great. So let me use a different color. Okay, so I will draw my x and y axis. Great. So we know that this is our x and y axis. So this is y and this is what? My x. Good. So I will indicate here as what? 0. That's the center. So the center is 0. Now I will use just 1 unit. So in every box I will use just 1 unit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then here too the same thing. So negative to my left side, it will be negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Good. Then on the vertical, I'll have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I will have negative 1, neg 2, neg 3, neg 4, neg 5, neg 6. Good. So once I have this, then I'm going to plot those coordinates I have. Okay, so if I look at the first coordinate, I have negative 3 and 0, meaning that the negative 3 is for what? X. So I will look for, and we know that this is the center. So it means that when y is 0, x is what? Negative 3. So where is 0 here? 0 is the origin. That is the center. So if here is 0, then I have to indicate where negative 3 is on the x-axis. So here is where the negative. So I will make this asterisk here. Yes. Then I'll also check for y-intercept. When x is 0, y is negative 2. So when x is 0, the same center here, my y is negative 2. Where is my negative 2 on y-axis? This is my negative 2 here. So you make this asterisk as well. Okay, yes, once you get these two points here, then you can use your straight edge to join them together. Because we are drawing a straight line, then we can join it together. There are times that maybe you may wish to get more points so that you get accurate straight line. All that you do is you can pick any number from the x-axis and substitute into the equation. Whatever value that you get for y, then you use it to plot. So even here, we can even pick, if you want to get maybe another number or another point, we can pick 1 from x and then substitute whatever we get. We can also pick maybe -4 and substitute, and whatever answer we get, we can do that. So you realize that we can, since we have 2 here, we can still use our straight edge to join it. Okay, once you are joining it and you realize that where the line will pass you are not getting accurate, then that is where you can pick some numbers from x-axis and substitute and get the corresponding y value so that you get more points. By looking at this one, I think we can use our straight edge to join them together. Okay, great. So I will join them. It means that this will be our straight line. So this is the straight line for the equation. Okay, so for the equation we have 2x plus 3y is equal to -6. So that is the graph there. That is how we can draw the graph. Okay, let's take another example and see. But in that one, we are going to use a different approach. That is the gradient and the y-intercept approach. Okay, so let's look at this example again. Okay, so we are also going to draw this graph. All right, now this time we are not going to use the x and y-intercept approach. We are going to use the gradient and the y-intercept. There are times that in a question you may be given the gradient and also be given the y-intercept to draw. So in this case, even though we have this equation there, we are going to use the x, the gradient and the y-intercept. So before you can do that, you need to write this in the general form of a linear equation. And we all know that the general form is y is equal to mx plus c. So we need to write this in that form. And how do we do that? Is by making y the subject. So we know that we have -y here is equal to, so I'm just going to transpose this and that, which I will get -3x and then -1, because we have negative here, so I can divide with by -1, -1, -1. Then I have my y to be 3x plus 1. So you see that we have gotten this in this form. And note that we are saying that this m is the gradient and this c is the y-intercept. So my gradient m is equal to, so the coefficient of x is my gradient. So we have 3 as our gradient, and then let's also look at our y-intercept. Good. Our y-intercept is giving us what? So this is y-intercept, that's the constant. So it is also 1. Great. Now we are going to use this tool to draw the graph. Okay, instead of finding the both x and y intercept, we are using the gradient. So that if you meet such questions, you are given only the gradient and the y-intercept, you know how to plot it. So let's first draw our vertical and horizontal axis on the graph. So this is my y-axis and this is my x-axis. Great. Now we are going to use this one to draw the graph, but note that this is the same as is divided by 1. Yes, so whenever you have it standing alone like this, it means that it is divided by 1. So we are going to take this as a fraction. Now anytime you are drawing the graph, when you are giving it, you need to know that it should be in a fraction form. Okay, and once this is not in a fraction form, then we have to make it one fraction by dividing it by 1. So what this means is that if you take this is the gradient. Okay, now you see that this 3 is also positive. Once you realize that the gradient is positive, it means that the graph will rise. It will rise, it will move upwards. Once it is negative, then you know that the graph will move downwards, that it will fall. Okay, so looking at this one, let's interpret this gradient we have here. Once you have gradient is equal to 3, which is divided by 1, it means that if I move one step to the right, then the straight line rises up how many times? 3 times. That is what we are trying to see. So let me write my numbers. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. So this 3 divided by 1 means that if I move from the left, so this is the center. Okay, good. This is the center. It means if I move to my right side, okay, if I move to my right side, and we know that this is the right side. Okay, if I move to, because we know that, and if you are going, you move from here, and then we are moving to the right direction. Always we move to the right direction, we don't come backwards. The moment you turn left, it means you are going backwards, but we always move forward. So to our right side, we move forward. Okay, so it means that what this gradient, the interpretation of this gradient means that when I move towards my right 1 unit, okay, this 1 unit, then the graph will rise up. Okay, it will rise up. The graph will also move upwards. How many times? 3 times, or 3 units. Okay, so if I'm moving from here, from this 1, then the graph should move upwards on the y-axis. Okay, on the y-axis. That is what it means. But in that case, we have the y-intercept. So it means that I will have to locate where my y-intercept is. This is my y-intercept, which is 1. So you indicate it there. Okay, meaning that at the point on the y-axis, if I move to my right 1 unit, then the graph has to rise up how many times? So this interpretation means if I start from 1 and move 1 unit, it is 1. Okay, so the denominator, which is 1, if I move 1 unit, then the graph will also rise how many times? So if I move 1 unit to this point, the graph has to rise how many times? 3. So 1, 2, 3. So it means that the graph will has to rise up to this point. Have you gotten that? So you see how we can also use the gradient. If you understand this concept, then this is very, very easy for you. Okay, so once I indicate my y intercept, this y-intercept means is that at the point where the graph crosses at the y-intercept or at the y-axis, then if I move 1 unit to my right, the graph has to rise 3 units upwards. Okay, it must rise 3 units. If I decide to come down, it means that it will fall. Okay, so you see that we have gotten these 2 points. Then you can use your ruler or your straight edge to join them. But maybe you want to get more points. We have some point here. If you want to get another point down here so that you get accurate what straight line, then the same approach we use, because it is positive, so always it will rise up. What if it were to be negative? It will rise down. It will what? Move down, or it will fall. Okay, so to get one here, then we have to make sure it falls. If it falls, then it means that here too, if I move to my right side 1 unit, then the graph has to fall how many times? 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. Have you gotten that? It goes down like that. If that is the case, then it means if I move to my left, okay, to the left direction, how many units? 1 unit. Then the graph has to fall how many times? 3 times. So to this point, I will move 1, 2, 3. So the 3 will be here. Then I will get another point here so that I can use my straight edge to join them. Okay, once you have at least 3 points, you get what? Accurate points to join using your straight edge. So I can join them. Have you gotten that? Great. So that is how you can also use that approach to get your. So it means that this is what my equation, that is 3x minus y plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, so this one's very simple. You don't have to waste much time. Okay, all right, so let's try and solve more examples on that in our next video.